What's up, everybody, and hello from Canada. Welcome to another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, joined by Tyler Stafford, and this week a special guest, the Athletics' Mitch Bannon, to preview this series against the Blue Jays with a lot of familiarity. There's James Click, there's Miles Straw, there's Joey Loperfido somewhere. Will Wagner's in San Diego, but he used to be here. Jake Bloss is somewhere recovering from arm surgery. And at the end of the day, George Springer will be atop the Blue Jays lineup tonight. First of all, Mitch, how are you? I know you're relatively new to the Athletic. You're settling in. This is your first season on the beat. Quite the first season to jump in on in Toronto. How's everything been, and how's life in Blue Jay land?
Yeah, it's going good. This is my first real September push, doing the whole travel, being with the Athletics. So I wrote this morning a story about Addison Barger, like feeling the grind of the season, his first full big league season, in a way that was like maybe deep down just a way for me to get my thoughts it through somebody else onto a page. But it's going good. The team is exciting, so it gives me a little bit of an extra juice. So it's going good. No complaints.
Before we get into George Springer and Vlad Guerrero and guys that, I think a lot of listeners can name offhand. You just said somebody's name named Addison Barger, who I didn't know who that was before this season. I can look at the Blue Jays lineup, and I didn't know who a good bit of these people were before the season. It seems like they are getting a lot of contributions just up and down the roster. It seems like they make the most out of the 28 guys that they have on their roster. Just how has this worked? Because we know the big names, we know Vlad and Bo and Springer, but how has this worked that they have become this kind of pesky team that no one wants to play and can really use a ton of different moving parts?
Yeah, I think a good encapsulation of it is you mentioned Joey Loperfido off the top. He was up for like the better part of a month, hit 360, and they had to option him because they had to bring George Springer back. Like they just have so many of these dudes at the bottom of the roster who I think coming into the season, you could see a path to the playoffs. That was like if 2 or 3 of these like potentially good stories click, maybe they're an 88, 89 win team. It's basically been like every single guy who you thought had a chance to take a jump has taken a jump. And trying to figure out exactly why has kind of been my challenge for the season. I think there is like David Popkins, the new hitting coach, and Lou Iannotti, the new assistant, definitely play into that. A lot of the guys credit them. There is an element of like a lot of these guys have like pretty big chips on their shoulders for whatever reason. Like Nathan Lucas is essentially a 31-year-old rookie who never really got a shot. Miles Straw was very close to being out of baseball, and he's just kind of one of those happy to be there. I'll do whatever it takes guys. Like there's a lot of factors playing into these breakouts. I think it's not like one overwhelming, this brought everyone up, but yeah, it's like basically half the roster is having a career season right now.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the Blue Jays roster, it just seems like you said that it's just like a depth thing. They've just got so many guys up and down the lineup that are hovering around 2 or 3 wins above replacement. Vlad is always going to be good. And he's clearly leading the team there, but nobody's having, an outrageous year. It just seems like everybody on the team is having an 80th percentile year for, their true talent level. What is it like on just a, game by game, week by week basis? Who is carrying the team? Is there one person that feels like if this guy's not having it, today, the lineup looks bad, or is it just so spread out that every day just feels like, well, somebody's going to step up and take care of it?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. I feel like the Jays went on a 10-game win streak at about the middle point of the season that really kind of vaulted them from like, oh, maybe could they do this, to like, oh, they're probably going to make the playoffs. And basically every single win in that win streak was like, today's hero, Davis Schneider. Today's hero, Joey Loperfido. Today's hero, Addison Barger. Like I was just writing the same story every single day, just like replacing the name with the new guy who stepped up and like decided to be the hero. And none of those guys at the time were like Bo or Vlad or George Springer, who is having, if there's a guy who's having like the, whoa, how the heck is this happening season, it's definitely Springer, just because he looked pretty cooked last year and is now arguably having his best offensive season he's ever had, which is pretty crazy at age 35. But yeah, it's not a lineup that's necessarily reliant on like the top guys. Like obviously when Vlad and Bo are going, and they've kind of been going for the last week or so. It gets easier on the guys who are maybe hitting the wall at this point in the year, but they do a lot of platooning. They do a lot of like weird lineup stuff at the bottom where it's like it's very hard to predict the 5 guys at the bottom who are going to be in any given night. And it's just, they found a way to have 2 or 3 of those guys get a couple hits every night.
There has to be buy-in for that too, because Mitch, as well as I, and Tyler, this, like, baseball players like to know their standing, and they like to play. They like to play every day, and there's got to be a ton of buy-in in there to, commit to a platoon system, to commit to a system where there could be guys that don't take at bats for 2 or 3 days, but they have to understand that it's for the betterment of the club and the betterment of, the entire season, and that's not easy to get. So the fact that they have that, obviously winning helps. Winning does help that situation, but the fact that they've got that is something that is not that's rare. That's rare to have that total buy-in from all 28 guys, and it's a testament to them. It's a testament to their culture, and I think it's something that, coming into this season, you kind of questioned kind of the direction of the Blue Jays, because we now know, I mean, they've tried for every big name free agent. They tried to give Shohei Ohtani $700 million and he didn't want it. They tried to give, I don't know how much they were in on Juan Soto, but I imagine they discussed him. They've tried for all these big name free agents and it just hasn't worked out. And then the one big name free agent they did get this offseason has not played. So what has happened? Like, who has kind of taken that leadership mantle inside the Blue Jays clubhouse to make this all work?
Yeah, I think it kind of started after last season. Like, they won 74 games. As you mentioned, there was like a real argument for them to just kind of blow it up. Like, Vlad was a pending free agent. Bo still is a pending free agent. Bassett, also a pending free agent. Like, there was a very clear, like, potential pivot point last year. They, early in that offseason, decided not to blow it up, not to rebuild. And from what I understand, like, kickstarted a bunch of kind of player-driven conversations between the vets, like the Bassetts, the Kevin Gosmans, Jeff Hoffman, and Santander eventually joined that group, Vlad, Bo, Springer. That's kind of like the core leadership group of this team. And they wanted, like, not a little more autonomy, but they wanted to play like the style of baseball that they were kind of built to do. And Chris Bassett will call it old school baseball. Kevin Gosman calls it like fundamentals. They all have like a different word for it, which is funny because it's like they want their style and they all like call it a different style. But at the end of the day, they wanted like just to know what was expected of them. They wanted to pitch deep into games. They wanted at least a little bit of say. And I think they definitely got it. It sounds like the coaching staff has definitely listened to that. The front office has definitely listened to that. And at the end of the day, like, you're still going to do like what the front office says is the right move. They're still making the moves. The coaching staff is the one who's going to like set the rotation and make the in-game management moves. But I think it is gotten that buy-in. I think having the players a little bit more invested, having them know that like, hey guys, this is like probably your last shot with this group, has gotten a lot of guys to buy in. And you bring in like the Miles Straws, the Nathan Lucases. You have Springer coming off last year. I think at the beginning of the season, it was really easy for those guys to buy in because they didn't necessarily have like a lot of standing because they weren't like coming off superstar seasons on it. So before the winning started, they were kind of forced to buy in. And then, as you mentioned, Chandler, the winning after that makes it pretty easy.
I mean, half the roster are Nepo babies who grew up in the MLB too. So that probably helps that, they've been around big league baseball since they were in diapers. When the draft rankings come out every year, do you just instinctively scan of what last name looks familiar and maybe the Blue Jays will take this guy?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the funny thing is they've like gotten rid of a couple of them too. Like, they could have had more. They had Kevin Biggio they got rid of, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. kind of like
Will Wagner.
Yeah, Wagner, exactly. Like they're still finding like new sons of big leaguers while still trading on other ones. They got that economy definitely marketed, but I think what JoJo Parker, his brother, was also in the draft this year. So maybe they just want like they want the potential to get like the same last names as somebody else. And so in 3 years, when I think it's Jacob Parker, his brother is going to be up for the draft, that I'll be circling his name.
How do you not have a holiday at this point? There's so many of them. You got to get one up in Toronto. Tell me about George Springer. I miss him. What's he been at? Why is he so good this year? What's going on? And just what has it been like to watch a full season of really good George Springer baseball?
Yeah, it started out like he was the only one in the lineup really clicking in the first month. And they were like kind of a 500 team, just a little bit below in that first month. And it kind of looked like a, oh, here we go again, start to the season, except for George. George was like the one like, oh, what the heck is happening here? Because he's 35. Like he's declined the last 2 seasons. It in no way did that look like anything other than just like the classic age-based linear decline. Like it was just like pretty clear what was happening. And now he's amazing. And you talk to him and he does not want to go into the mechanical adjustments, the mindset changes. Like you talk to the hitting coaches and it sounds like George has basically told him like, do not talk to anybody about these changes. These are like state secrets. But what I've picked up through bits and pieces is that he like last year, his swing speed dropped a decent amount. It's been dropping for the past couple of years. And at the surface, like I kind of thought that was just getting old, but it's jumped back up this year. And what they're saying is they're just telling him to go up there and just like swing it hard and just like try to hit a double or a home run every single time. Cause he's always had like really good swing decisions. He's always swung at really good pitches. And so trying to like play into the contact the last couple of years just like wasn't good for him because he was hitting like singles or ground outs because he could get to a lot of these pitches as opposed to just trying to drive balls. And he understands, like he talks about, I got 3 strikes. Like I don't have to make contact with the first pitch. If I whiff through it and like fall down on my knee and like look like I got shot from someone in the 500 level, which he does like a lot, he can get back up and just hack at the next one. And it sounds so simple, but I really do think that's what's happening. He's just going up there and just like embracing a potential like 3 true outcomes player, but he makes so much contact and has such good swing decisions that it hasn't like turned him into like a Joey Gallo type.
He's having the best season he's had since 2019. And to look at it, the thing that jumps out to me is like, I know he's not going up there trying to walk, but like the walks are up. It would show me that, the swing decisions, he's always been, he's not seen a ton of pitches in his career. I mean, when he was with the Astros leading off, like was kind of like Altuve, that he could take you out the first pitch of the game. He was not going to wait around. So maybe the swing decisions have gotten, just a little better just in terms of maybe early in the count, and it's not swinging at a certain pitch. It's waiting and knowing that he's got, in a normal arrangement, he probably has Vlad hitting behind him. He probably has Bo Bichette hitting behind him. Like those are good guys to have. You don't have to try to do everything. So George is, every Astros fan listening to this knows he's a spark plug, and he's a guy that can put the team on his back and carry them. He did that with the Astros a good bit. And to be honest with you, Mitch, like to hear you discuss and talk about like it's come out of nowhere and no one can really explain it, you kind of need that. Every World Series team, every pennant winning team has that. They have that one guy that just, you came into spring training, you didn't know what you were going to get, and then he turns out to have the best year of his career. The Astros in 2022, they didn't have that all season, but they got to the playoffs, and Jeremy Pena just completely went on a 3-week heater, won ALCS and World Series MVP, and was a huge key to why the Astros did that. So you've got to have that guy or two that just come out of nowhere and just kind of have career years. And George is he's doing that, and the Astros have to hope that that stops for these 3 games. But I'm sure they'll be happy to see him. Everybody loves George Springer.
He's 16 for 16 in stolen bases this year. He's 35 years old. Like, what's going on? How? Oh, it's the best. I'm happy.
He's
for
also
him.
like one of the big like kind of those fundamentals, old school baseball style I was talking about earlier. Is the Jays have been like a very bad base running team for the last couple of years, and they wanted to fix it. And George has been like the face of the fixing of that. They're still not like a great base running team, and they're still a very slow team, but they've jumped up in like all of like the decisions, taking extra bases, kind of like the small minutia stuff in the middle. Yeah, George 16 for 16. He's always the guy like going first to third, first to home. He's designated hit a lot this year just to keep him fresh, as you would expect at 35. But when he's designated hitting, he doesn't have DH on the lineup card. He writes OP because he wants to be like the offensive player who's also responsible for base running. And he claims he's come up with it. The coaching staff claims they've come up with it. But whatever it is, that's a good like little encapsulation of George is like the leader of kind of the turnaround this year for the Jays.
That's a very Springer thing to do. We'll talk about the Blue Jays lineup, and I think why the Astros want their lineup to be like the Blue Jays. We'll talk about that right after this message from our friends at DraftKings.
Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, from breakout rookies to elite QBs, and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. And here's a kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Mitch, you said one thing in the last segment that I think perked all Astros fans' ears up, and it was new hitting coach. The Blue Jays do have a new hitting coach. His name is David Popkins. He was with the Twins last year, and the Twins had one of the more epic collapses in September around. They did not hit very well. He got fired, basically, and went to Toronto, and the Blue Jays now have the sort of lineup that I think the Astros want to have. Like, when you hear the Astros talk about what they want their lineup to be, it really bears out when you look at the Blue Jays stats. The Blue Jays lead baseball in batting average. They lead baseball in on-base percentage. They don't hit a lot of home runs. They're like 15th or 16th in baseball in home runs. They strike out fewer than any team in baseball. This is just a team that gets on base. They put the ball in play. They make good swing decisions. And like you just said, they've improved running the bases. So it's not station to station baseball per se, but it's the sort of, the Astros use this term. They use pass the baton. That's the term that the Astros use for what they want their lineup to look like. I think anyone that has watched the Astros lineup this year is aware that they have not done that. The Blue Jays have done that. So how has this lineup gotten to the point where they don't hit the ball over the fence? Their slugging numbers are just okay, but they're still managing to be one of the top run-producing teams in baseball.
Yeah, I think it's kind of come out of a product of necessity. Like, if you look at a lineup that has Ernie Clement, Nathan Lucas, Bo Bichette, like, yeah, Bo's hit over 20 home runs before, but like, he's a contact guy. And honestly, like, so is Vlad. Like, his hit tool is his best tool more than his power tool. Yeah, he's hit 48 home runs before, but like, it's the hitting 320 that is what has made Vlad like a really good player, along with like walking a bunch and adding in some home runs. But this is like a hit tool team. And I think, as opposed to trying to find a way around that, and yeah, they signed Anthony Santander, but as you mentioned, he has barely played this year. So they didn't really have the power juice. It's kind of been, this is the team we have. Like, we need to embrace this style. And you got guys like Ernie Clement hitting 300, and you got guys like Nathan Lucas hitting 270, and they've kind of embraced that, especially at the bottom of the order. Like, yeah, George, Addison Barger, Bo, and Vlad can all put the ball over the wall, but like at Kirk on down, most of these guys are contact-oriented guys, and I think it comes back to like the buy-in and the winning. Like, it would be easy for Vlad has talked about, like, in previous seasons, he's like felt like he needed to swing for the fences because the offense kind of rested on him. And in the first 3 months of the year, when it looks like this team's going to have a really good offense, when Vlad wasn't even really having an amazing season, it was like a good to great season, not a guy who's going to get MVP votes. It was still a really good lineup. So we could look around and like the trust that you have other options behind you. You can take the borderline pitches. Like, Vlad's running the highest walk rate of his career, or at least was. I haven't looked recently, but it kind of creates that collective buy-in to just Kirk passes it to Lucas, who passes it to Ernie. And these guys, the Jays also bunt a lot as well, which like that's where Miles Straw comes in. And it's just a lot of guys doing like the little things and passing it on. But you need like the offense to be scoring runs for people to trust to be able to do that.
So right now, the Blue Jays are the 1 seed in the playoffs. Are they the best team in the American League?
I think like if they are the 1 seed right now, so like at the very base level, I'll say yes. I think there's like pretty clearly just like a mess of teams at the top who you can pick names out of the hat. I think the Astros, Jays, Tigers, Yankees, might even like the Mariners haven't played good ball recently. I'd throw the Mariners into there. They all look like very similar teams, and they all look like teams that could make it to the World Series and then have a really, really tough time with whoever comes out of the NL is kind of how I'm looking at this. And I think like the Jays could finish anywhere from the 1 seed to like being traveling in a wild card game at this point. Like there's a lot of ways the next 3 weeks could go. And I think that's probably true for every other team I listed.
Will this work? Will this like offensive style work in October when you're going to be facing the elite of the elite pitching? And look, I mean, the Blue Jays play in the American League East. They face, Max Fried and Carlos Rodon pretty regularly. They face Garrett Crochet pretty regularly. Like they see elite pitching, in their division. But a lot of people, the thought is that in the playoffs, you got to hit the ball over the fence. It's home runs and it's pitching and it's catching the ball. And the Blue Jays do have a very respectable defense. They catch the ball. Their outfield is excellent. But will this offensive approach work in October when it's a little harder to just string 3, 4, and 5 hits together against, Tarek Skubal or Garrett Crochet or these studs that you're going to see in the playoffs? And the Astros have had this problem, the last couple of years. Their slugging numbers have been down. They haven't been able to hit the ball over the fence as consistently as they'd like. And they get in the playoffs and the offense is okay, but it takes 3 or 4 hits against these guys to score a couple runs. That's harder to do in the playoffs than it is in the regular season.
Yeah, I think 2 answers to that for sure is I wrote a story earlier this year, actually, before a week where they faced like Matt Boyd, Paul Skeens, Jacob deGrom, and Nathan Eovaldi. It's like this is kind of like an ace week test for the Jays. And I looked at how they'd faced against the top 25 starting pitchers by ERA, qualified guys at that point. And they had performed, obviously, like they're a top 10 offense. They performed significantly better than like most teams did against those guys. But you're right. It changes in October. Like the game plans get way more specific. Teams start exploiting things in a way that they haven't all regular season. I think the path for the Jays, and a lot of people, including myself, have compared them to the Brewers. And where I see like the difference in potential between these teams is the Jays are a very contact-oriented team, but they still have Vlad. They still have Addison Barger, and they still have Dalton Varsho. Those are like kind of the 3 guys who could just pop one at any moment. And if Santander comes back in the next 2 weeks, like he could join that group. I think in an ideal world, they find like a bit more of a balance between the contact, the punting guys over, and then you just have Dalton Varsho like run into one, as he has a bunch this year, despite playing only half the year. And you're looking at like a 3-1 lead. The question is, for me, more is do they have the pitching then to win a game where they have a 3-1 lead? That's kind of been the sketchy point for them. But I think the offense at least has like a framework to succeed in October.
Those are a lot of lefties you mentioned too, of the top end talent in the American League right now is a lot of left-handed starters, and this is a very right-handed heavy lineup, not nearly as much as the Astros have been, but that's another thing to keep in mind is Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal, Rodon, Fried, like all these guys are lefties. And so, when you do get to the playoffs, you're going to, Hunter Brown might be is he the best right-handed? He's got to be the best right-handed starter in the American League right now. So, that's another thing to keep in mind. Certainly, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. How is Tyler Heineman hitting 300?
It beats me. Honestly, I wish I had a really good answer for you. Like he has made some changes. Like I've talked to the hitting coaches him about it. He's kind of doing like a very, very, very micro version of what Springer's doing. And just like they're telling him to swing harder and they don't really care. He's a backup catcher, strikeout dude. Just go try to like put the ball in play. He's run into a couple home runs, and I think it's like his 2nd and 3rd home runs of his entire career have come this season. But it's a lot of like ground balls that are finding holes. It's a lot of like very timely hits. Like he has been a huge player for them to give Kirk some needed time off his feet, but it's not the most beautiful style of baseball. He's just finding a way to get it done.
I spent a ton of time with him in Corpus Christi when the Astros had just implemented TrackMan stuff. And so I was the nerd on the computer with him after every game, looking at all the TrackMan stuff. And I look up and I'm like, he's hitting 300. I did not see that coming. My other connection is Braden Fisher. I live 10 minutes from his high school. I saw him pitch a bunch in high school. So if you could ask him for me what his Nobi order is, that's the best restaurant down here. And that's going to tell me a lot about him and what that order is. So that's going to be very important journalism I need you to do.
Okay, noted. Yeah, Fish is the man. He just got called back up. He's a really nice guy. So I will report back.
Thank you.
Nobi, that is
Nobi, Nobi. Okay. Yeah, very important.
We'll talk about some of Braden Fisher's rotation and bullpen mates right after this message from our friends at Foul Territory.
We are longtime fans of Omaha Steaks, and I am drooling looking at the website right now, featuring USDA certified tender steaks, and also during their Red Hot Sale event going on right now this fall, 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus for the FT fam, an extra $35 off with promo code FOUL at checkout. You've been a big fan of Omaha Steaks since your early days as a pro.
Brings me back to my low A-ball days, because we used to survive on this. We get a big order at the beginning of the year, cook them on our little electric grill, can of peas, some mac and cheese. That was dinner for 4. We survived off Omaha Steaks. It still has a special place in my heart.
You thrived.
Well,
you guys ate like kings.
Yeah.
That's special. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, promo code FOUL at checkout. 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code FOUL at checkout. See site for details. Dig in.
Mitch, we've spent a lot of this time talking about the Blue Jays lineup and their offense, because that's what is driving this team. They are an offense first kind of contact bat first team. We were talking about, Tyler and I were talking about in the last episode, just briefly mentioning this series. We're talking about their rotation, and it's a lot of guys that just know how to pitch. Like they've got a lot of veterans. I mean, the 3 guys at the Astros we'll see this week are Shane Bieber, Jose Barrios, and Kevin Gausman. 3 guys that have been around, that have pitched in playoff games, that are not maybe the elite of elite starters, but know how to pitch, are not going to get absolutely blown up, or not going to have things completely unravel on them. They've been around before. The Blue Jays bullpen has been a mess, to put it lightly, in the second half. We'll save them for a little bit, but how has this rotation kind of come together, especially with no one that's really kind of standing out as the number? Like, I couldn't look at this team, this rotation right now and say, oh, this dude's definitely starting game 1 of a playoff series.
Yeah, I think that has kind of been the story of the rotation the whole year. Like, the second it became clear that the Jays were like probably an October team, the fan base turned their attention to like, okay, who the heck are like playoff starters? Because you add Eric Lauer into the rotation mix too. He's back in the bullpen now, but like for a 2-month stretch, he was like arguably their best starter. And they had, like, after getting Bieber, 6 like decent options, kind of question marks for the playoffs. What are we going to do here? And it's just about trying to find like the guys who are not only like the regular season workhorses that are going to get them there, but the guys who can succeed in October. I think there's a lot of hope and faith that Shane Bieber can be that guy. He looked really good in his first 2 starts. And aside from 1 inning in Cincinnati, he looked really good as well. He let up all of his runs in that 1 frame. But Gausman is another guy who, like, when he is on, has the fastball and splitter, he can win you a playoff game. And so those are 2. And it's just kind of about trying to find the 3rd and 4th guys of this potential October rotation. And I think that's a decision that's going to come down to like September 28th before it really bears out.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have Max Scherzer, who, until proven otherwise, I'm going to assume is going to turn it on in October and be terrifying. How long did it take you to ask him a question without being nervous? He seems like an intense man to speak to.
Certainly an intense man. It helped that like the first time I talked to him, because I didn't actually start on the beat until after he had already gotten injured at the beginning. This was like a scrum update of like him breaking down the details of his thumb. It's very hard to be like intimidated by a guy when he's like going through all of the pain he has in specific parts of his thumb. So that certainly was an easy entry point into the Max Scherzer, but intense is a very good word for it. He's both thoughtful and intense at the same time, though. He's very open to like talking to you about anything, and then you hit on like something he doesn't want to talk about, and he's like, "I don't talk about that," and you're like, "Okay, I guess I'm gonna find something else to talk about." But yeah, it's been interesting having him around for sure.
It sounds like his quote unquote very good friend Justin Verlander. Sounds like they are cut from the same cloth, which is why they are. I would not say frenemies, but they've gotten close. But earlier in their career, that was not the case. The Blue Jays bullpen, man, certainly a collection of names. They tried their best at the deadline. They traded for Louis Varland from the Minnesota Twins. They traded for Sir Anthony Dominguez from the Orioles. They signed Jeff Hoffman this offseason. It's just not worked. Granted that, all it takes is like a couple of guys getting hot and a couple of guys pitching well for a couple of weeks, and the outlook of a bullpen looks differently. But what has caused this bullpen to have so many struggles, and how is that challenging John Schneider, and kind of how he matches up late in games, and kind of maybe how long he sticks with his starters? Kind of how is this kind of defined the second half of their season?
Yeah, I think since kind of the second week of August, this has been a thing. Like Sir Anthony Dominguez, when they brought him in, he's actually been pretty solid for them. He is the Sir Anthony Dominguez everyone thought, where he's going to walk some guys. He's going to buzz some accidentally by a guy's forehead, but then he's going to strike you out as well. He's been the experience, but basically every other guy in the bullpen has gone through like the worst month of their season over the last month. And the big issue is the walks. They have the highest walk rate in baseball since the beginning of August. It's like 14% from the bullpen, which is just, when it's a bullpen that's always given up homers and hasn't been like the elite bullpen, they'll give up their hits as well. When you're just adding free passes on top of that, it's where you get the big bullpen blowups. And it's been very challenging for Schneider. Like, he has tried out Tommy Nance in the ninth inning of games, who's a guy who they designated for assignment after spring. They've been searching for different seventh, eighth inning combinations. They've been giving guys really short leashes, going to Brendan Little for like very specific like matchups and having him walk a guy or bounce a pitch. It's been, I think a lot of the fans are mad at Schneider, but it's kind of one of those situations where for 3 weeks, no matter who he taps on the shoulder to go in the game, like, it hasn't really worked. I think over the weekend in New York and in the last couple of games in Cincinnati, it seemed to get a bit better, but we've seen kind of glimpses of Hoffman really locking it in, Varland looking a little better before. And it's got to be like a 2 or 3 week stretch before I think we can definitively say this is like a fixed problem.
So Jeff Hoffman is the closer, right? Or is that up in the air?
Yeah. No, he's through it all, through the days where he's had like a 5 ERA, through the multiple blown saves. He has been their guy. I don't expect at this point in the season they're going to go to anyone else, partially because, like, who are they going to go to? There isn't like an obvious like seventh inning guy who's got like a 1.2 ERA or anything like that. So Hoffman, for him, it's been more the home runs than anything else. Like, he's still striking out a bunch of guys, not a ton of walks, and he gets some soft contact. And then every so often he'll just like give up a 3-1 bomb that like goes to the third deck. And you're like, how did that happen? And I think they still see him as the guy with the highest upside, the guy who's for times this year has been like a lockdown closer. And so he's their dude. And I expect on October 1st, he will be their dude.
He's got 30 saves. Yeah, I mean, granted, that's because the Blue Jays have more wins than everybody else in the American League, but 30 saves. He also currently has one of my my favorite things, which is where he has the exact same ERA and FIP, which is really fun, 4.77. Love it when it lines up perfectly like that. So that's fun that he's at least consistent. You can't point to bad luck somewhere like, nope, that seems about right. 4.77 seems about right for him this year.
Yeah, that's consistently inconsistent might be the Jeff Hoffman of 2025.
So, I mean, in a playoff series, let's say, game 5 of the ALDS, you're running out your I mean, again, there's nobody in the Blue Jays rotation that I would assume that you would expect could give 7 innings of 1-run, but obviously that can happen. Like, any of those guys are capable of doing it, but I would imagine the plan is 5 2/3 from your starter. Then what? Like, what is the ideal run out of the Blue Jays bullpen? 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, is there one, or is it just whatever's working that day?
I think it's probably more whatever's working, but like in a dream scenario, if they get like a couple of these guys locked back in at the beginning of the year, it was like there was an obvious, like, Braden Fisher is the 6th, Yariel Rodriguez gets the 7th, Brendan Little gets whatever lefty lane whenever it shows up, and then you go to Hoffman in the 9th. I think that is like the dream 4 they could trot out. Louis Varland can get you a big ground ball in there if you need. He can also be a guy to like cover 2 innings alongside Fisher. But there is not like an obvious, like, this is how we cover 4 innings. I do expect Eric Lauer will like follow a starter at some point in the playoffs, and like fans are going to freak out because it's going to be shades of Schneider pulling Jose Barrios after 3 innings in Minnesota a couple of years ago. Just buckle up. Like, that's going to happen at some point because they're going to need to cover innings.
Do they have any guys in the rotation that you could see playing? You know, like the Astros have had a lot of success. You know, Christian Javier was a guy that went to the bullpen in October and just excelled there. Is there anybody in their rotation that you could look at as maybe this could be a guy that becomes a bullpen ace or a savior there in October that isn't able to play that role now because you got 162 games you got to play?
I don't think so, just because, as Chandler mentioned, this is like a pitchability rotation. It's like a bunch of guys throwing 92, 93 with, like, in Bassett's case, 8 pitches. Like, Jose Barrios is throwing 91 these days, and like the curveball hasn't even been great. So there isn't like the obvious options who I think would do great in the bullpen are like Gausman and Scherzer, and like those are probably guys you're starting with. So that's doesn't really help you out.
Yeah, and it's also like, I don't think they want to, with where Max Scherzer is in his career, I don't think they want to, mess with sending him to the bullpen and having to tinker with his routine, tinker with, warming him up and maybe not using him. Kind of the same thing with Gausman too. I mean, these guys are so veteran, they've got so much service time and are so down the road and being a starter that it's really hard for that to happen. Like, honestly, Christian Javier is getting to that point. Like, I think they could still put him in the bullpen if they have to, but
not this year. There's not enough starters for the Astros.
No, not this year. But like, I mean, it'd be like, when the Astros acquired Yusei Kikuchi last year, one of the things I think I asked Dana Brown, like right after they acquired him, because remember when they acquired him, he had an ERA like in the 6s. I asked, like, are you guys comfortable using him in the bullpen if need be? Knowing that he was going to start, but like I kind of was thinking down the road. And Dana looked at me like I had 8 heads. He was like, no, he's here to start. And then, they proved me wrong because he went out there and had a sub-2 ERA for 3 months. But it was the other thing of like, Yusei Kikuchi's been doing this for a long time. In general, you don't love veteran starters that have been doing this for a while to go to the bullpen and kind of mess things up, mess their routine up. They don't like that. Teams try to avoid that. So, Eric Lauer, he was a former Astros legend at one point. He was in their system last year. I don't remember what his pitch mix was like, but I don't think it was overwhelming. So it's not one of those things where he'll get like 3 or 4 miles an hour up. It's not like the stuff will play up really. It's just kind of a pitchability thing. But looking at this rotation, they seem like a very kind of straightforward team of like, here's our starters, here's our bullpen. Like, we can try to do some creative things, but like we're kind of limited in what we can do creativity wise.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think there is like this Trey Savage, their top pitching prospect. They've like dabbled with him coming out of the bullpen kind of unsuccessfully over the last couple of weeks in AAA. He's kind of like maybe the ace up their sleeve. They can lock him in the next couple of weeks and like have him debut as like a Jackson Jobe type in October. But yeah, other than that, I think they're not going to surprise a whole lot of teams with what they're doing in October.
No. Real quick, this series particularly, it's coming at an odd time for the Blue Jays. They just finished going to the Yankees. They lost 2 of 3 at Yankee Stadium. After the Astros, they get, I believe, 7 straight games against AL East opponents. Their priority is finishing this division off. They lead the Yankees, I believe, by 2 games now. Kind of how do the Blue Jays view the Astros at this point? Is this? I mean, obviously they have great respect for them, and it's a consequential series, but this series probably pales in comparison to the one they just played and probably the 2 that come after it.
Yeah, I think this series is like important in the context of last series. And it's like if they lose this one, then it like becomes like a stumble turns into a step back. Like if the Yankees beat the Tigers, then like the division is tied and we really got a race. I think this is kind of like a stop the bleeding moment for the Jays or get back on track because they're trying to cling on to the division lead. And the Astros and Tigers are also very relevant to the Jays in like the bye situation. And like ultimately winning the division and like not getting the bye, it's like doesn't really matter. Like you can be the top wildcard team and it's kind of the same thing. So I do think this matters from like a long-term look. And I think this series would have had a lot more juice if like the Jays had a 5-game lead in the AL East and it was kind of like talk about the bye time. But now it's really like, okay, can they hold off the Red Sox and hold off the Yankees at this point? So the Astros are just like another team that they have to beat to do that.
The Astros are not relative to their bye. Let me clear that up for you. Barring some insane thing happening, it would take a sweep and then like a 8 out of 10 streak, which of course they're capable of, but yikes, it has been rough over here for the last 2 months or so. Basically the opposite of the Jays lineup, where you're just consistently getting someone to do something, or you've got 7 guys in a lineup every night that are like, oh, that guy's pretty good. That the Astros have pretty consistently had 7 guys that you're like, uh-oh, this guy's up right now. He's in a slump. But again, those things can change. We've talked about it all year on this show that, as Chandler mentioned, in the playoffs, you just need a handful of guys to get hot. The Astros certainly have the people that could do that. But I don't think I'd be too worried if I were the Jays about the Astros making up a ton of ground here.
The Blue Jays get to miss Framber Valdez. They get to miss Hunter Brown. They do get Cy Young candidate Jason Alexander
Staff ace
on Wednesday. That'll be interesting. But yeah, this should be, it's September 9th. Like litmus tests are over. Like the Astros just have to, it doesn't matter who's in front of them. Like I don't think this is going to tell us anything about the Astros that we don't know. But still, it'll be nice to see them against some representative competition and some competition that will be alongside them in October, because the Astros haven't had that in a while. They just played the Yankees, who it was a competitive series, maybe the final scores notwithstanding, but it was a competitive series. They held their own. It'll be interesting to see what they do against a Blue Jays team that they haven't seen since April. So this is a Blue Jays team that looks a whole lot different than what the Astros saw in April at Daikin Park when the Astros took 2 out of 3. So I'll be at Rogers Center. It's going to be lit. I love going to Rogers Center. Love it when they're good. Love it when the roof's open, because it gets loud in there, and people love the Jays. So and people love to come watch the Astros for some reason. I'm not real sure why. Opposing fans love to come see the Astros, but they're going to do that this week in Toronto. Mitch, you'll be there. Tell the people where they can follow you, where they can get all of your great Blue Jays coverage from here until the end of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm over at The Athletic alongside Chandler. So if you're reading his stuff, maybe just like scroll down and one of my articles will be suggested to you. But I'm also on Twitter at Mitch Bannon. That's 2 N's and then another N at the end.
2 N's and another N at the end. I'm on X at Chandler_Rome. Tyler is at Tyler C. Stafford. As always, guys, you can rate and review us on Apple. You can also review us on Spotify. Leave some comments on the episode. You can subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can know anytime we go live. And if you do watch those videos, please like the videos, because that helps a lot in terms of our growth and in terms of spreading what we do all around. We will be back at the end of this series to preview the Braves. After the Blue Jays, we'll recap what happens at Rogers Center. As always, you can read Mitch's coverage if you'd like to see from the other side. I'll be in Rogers Center as well. Mitch, we appreciate this. This was great, man. Thank you for lending us some information. Before you go, since I went there this morning, what should be my go-to Tim Hortons order? Because I liked what I got this morning, but it didn't fulfill my expectations.
Okay. I'm a big proponent of the Farmer's breakfast wrap. It's got egg, bacon, or sausage, you can choose, and then a hash brown in the wrap and like a nice like sauce in it. It's the elite Tim Hortons breakfast option for me. I love a chocolate glazed donut, and I love a medium iced coffee as well. That's my trio.
I got the chocolate glazed donut. It was quite good. But then I got a breakfast sandwich that was very meh. But Tim Hortons forever. Great spot. Can't wait to eat my weight in poutine the next 3 days too. God, I love Canada. Let's make it the 51st state. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, thank you guys, and we'll be back with you soon.
The correct order at Nobi, by the way, is a pork fried rice with an egg. Bye.